So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you, which will allow you to see this presentation and allow you kind of follow along. And I'll kind of fill you in a little bit of detail before we get started. If you were out hunting mule deer this year, you would have seen probably some type of survey that went out looking at potentially new mule deer season. What we're trying to do is really address hunter crowding and hunt area 82, as that is the main complaint we get from folks in the field, as well as through a very intensive process where we looked at issues facing the mule deer herd through our mule deer working group. And let me try to share this screen here with you right now. Should be able to see that. Please shoot me a text at that number if you can't see the screen that we've got. It should say potential seasons, and again, there's a little bit of lag between when I'm talking and what shows up here, but just want to run through a couple of things here. Again, with the mule deer season, we had a mule deer initiative here in Baggs back in a couple of years ago, and we've been kind of following up and following through on those things. And so through that, we had a working group that was comprised of all different interest groups within the Baggs area and Rollins area. Really kind of this local working group made up of hunters, NGOs, industry, and all our cooperating partners, BLM, Forest Service, and we came together and put out a survey and said, you know, what are the major issues within the mule deer initiative, or within the mule deer for Baggs herd? And really the top issue was hunter crowding. And so because of that, the Mule Deer Initiative, this working group, really started working on how can we deal with that. A couple other issues that came up were looking at the quality of bucks in the area, as well as continuing to provide opportunity. I mean, there's mule deer in the Baggs area have always been popular. We always have probably second, third highest number of hunters using hunt area 82 especially, and so so we really wanted to still maintain the ability for folks to come hunt. So because of that, we came up with because of that, they came up with this new idea, and by us putting this out here, I just want to make sure that it's very clear that this doesn't mean that this is going to happen this year or even next year. Right now, all we're doing is trying to gather as much public input as we can. This is a new idea, a new season structure, and we don't want to jump into anything lightly. And so we're trying to get as much public input as we can. I'm going to put up a couple of links during our discussion here in the chat that allow you to click on the link and actually give us feedback on this, as well as some of the elk issues that I'm going to bring up here in a second. So I encourage you guys to do that, to click on that link. You'll be able to fill out a form and let us know what you think of this. And again, this doesn't mean this is going to happen. This just is the working group's attempt at trying to really to tackle the issue of hunter crowding, which has been an issue for as long as this herd unit in this hunt areas have been here. So let me just walk you through what that would look like if this were to ever take place, and what was kind of put forth by this working group. So there, what you see there on the screen is dealing with hunt area 82, and what that would look like is a type 1 and a type 2. These would be an unlimited number of licenses for residents. And so it wouldn't change anything except for that this would be your only full price license. You would either have to put in for it as a draw, or you could buy it as a leftover license as well. And really the other major part of that is that we would be splitting up the dates. You would have to make a choice whether you wanted to hunt the first week of October or the second week of October. And that's for residents. We'll get into non-residents in just a second. Because the working group felt it was very important that we maintained the ability for anyone that wants to hunt in 82 to be able to do that. That's why this unlimited number of licenses was put forth. So really what it is, it puts it into a limited quota framework without limiting the number of residents that can hunt in that area. But again, it does limit you to hunting only 82 and only either the first week or the second week of October, which would not allow you to hunt other general areas earlier in the year or even later in the year. But what you can see below there is that that the working group wanted to allow as much opportunity for archery hunters as possible, so that 82 general archery would still be intact. So if you had a general license, you could come hunt in 82 on your archery license, or you could hunt other general areas after that. You'd also, with a type 1 or 2, be able to hunt archery in 82, just as if you were to draw a limited quota license, you would be hunting there. But the general archery folks would also be able to hunt in 82. So again, trying to allow for as much opportunity as possible, start to try to spread out pressure, and also trying to decrease the number of folks that are hunting multiple units across the state, so that 82 doesn't just become a place where folks come if they can't get something anywhere else, and they just use this as a fallback area. This would be, you would want to choose this. So what this looks like for non-residents really is just, it would just split the area into two, and these numbers again are just for the sake of discussion. But right now we have 900 non-resident licenses available for all of Region W, which includes 82, 100, and 131. And what this would do is split, a set number of those non-residents and make those available for either the first week or the second week of October. And if we use 900 just as a number that we throw out there, it'd be 450 for the first to the 7th, and 450 for the 8th through the 14th. And so it shouldn't impact non-residents. The draw should be relatively the same, unless it turns out that more people want to hunt in the first week, which I think that would really parse itself out after the first couple years. Folks would, there's some folks that want to get out there first, but there's some folks that, would rather wait maybe for some weather later in the month. So that's what it would look like for non-residents. You would put in for an 82 type 1 or an 82 type 2 as a non-resident, and there would be an allotted number available for that. But again, you would only be able to hunt 82, hunt area 82 on that. The Region W designation may go away if we go this way, and we'd have 3 separate areas that would require you to put in for an actual draw for an area. So that's what it would look like for non-residents. On the flip side, we've got Hunt Area 182 as well. It may or may not be of interest to you, but it would look very similar, except we would only have one type and 100. And those dates, again, had been suggested maybe the dates move later. Maybe we move those around. And so, again, this is just for discussion, just for your, as an example, I guess. So it'd be, again, unlimited number of licenses for residents. But you, again, that would be your only license. A 100 type 1 would be your only full price license. again, trying to allow for as much opportunity as possible. We'd allow for general archery in 100 as well as the type 1. For non-residents, we'd set the amount of licenses that would be available for draw based on the historical non-residents use, which is typically in the past been around 100, 75, somewhere right around there. So we look at that, look at the last 10 years and come up with a number based on historical use, and that would be the number of licenses available for non-residents. At this point, not sure how that would really impact the draw. And so we would kind of see how that worked out in the future. As far as 131, that's outside of our area, so we're not sure where that would end up. There's been talk for a couple of years for that going limited quota just because of the low number of deer that are available during hunting season up there. So again, Region W would be in flux if we went to this. And just as a reminder, this isn't going to happen this year or maybe even not even next year. We're just trying to get public feedback on this. So so that's all I had on that side of things. Again, if you've got any questions, let me kind of pop over here and see if anybody's posted any questions here. Or feel free to text me any questions if you have any, and I'll wait just a second for that. So let's see if